Well, everybody, here we are. Let's just take a good stretch together. Welcome this morning. Oh, good to see you. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park. I bring greetings from Reggie, who so enjoyed being with us all last week. He said, "That's a great church." I said, "Yep." So here we go. So everybody get on to mute because we're going to sing some freedom songs this morning. I've got a couple and Louise has fabulous things. So let's just get ourselves going. Whoa, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom line. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, oh, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let police brutality turn me round, oh, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let police brutality turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let redlining turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let redlining turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Nobody ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, oh, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let racism turn me round, oh, turn me round, oh, turn me round. Ain't gonna let racism turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom line. Nobody ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, oh, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Hey, hey, I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Oh, oh, I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Woo! Welcome to the church in Ocean Park. So glad that you are here with us this morning. We're really excited. One of our wonderful, incredible members will be sharing with us today. And so grateful that Trudy is here. She's even on Zoom now. Glad to see you, Trudy. The Church in Ocean Park is a wonderful, caring, interfaith congregation. We celebrate diversity, treating ourselves and others with respect. We empower children and youth and encourage lively discussion and cultivate shared leadership. We actively seek ways to make our own circle wider and to bridge the chasms that keep people apart in our community and keep people apart, in our cities, our nations, and in this world. I'm Dr. Kim Harris. I'm a member of the church in Ocean Park, and you may be wondering if you are welcome here. We're interfaith, so you're welcome if you are Jewish, if you are Muslim, if you are Christian, Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Wiccan, atheist, or some combination or something else all together. We extend a special invitation to those who are single, married, separated, divorced, gay, transgender, filthy, rich, or in poverty. We extend a special invitation to crying newborns or crying people that aren't newborn but just are feeling some kind of grief that they need to let it out. You are welcome if you're just browsing, if you just woke up, if you just got out of jail. We don't care if you are more religious than the Pope or if you have not been to synagogue since your niece's bat mitzvah. We extend a special invitation to the over 60 and not grown up yet. And to teenagers who are growing up too fast. Soccer moms, tree huggers, latte sippers, chai tea lovers, vegetarians, junk food eaters, those who are fully vaccinated, those who are halfway vaccinated, or those who are not vaccinated. You are welcome here. We invite you if you are in recovery or still addicted. We invite you if you're having problems, if you're feeling down in the dumps, or if you don't like organized religion, have had religion shoved down your throat, or love religion and go to lots of different churches or lots of different religious gatherings. You are welcome here. And a special invitation to those who work too hard, don't work, have lost their jobs because of the pandemic, are frontline workers, or are trying to figure out how we're going to come on back together. My special welcome to those who can't spell, or those who are bored with staying home all day, or feeling way too tired of being on Zoom, but heard this is a strange church and want to check it out. Whether you're inked or pierced or both, there's a special invitation to everyone who could use a prayer right now. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park. One of the ways that we gather ourselves and just take a minute to breathe together, even as we are, we've been singing together, so that was some breathing together right there. And we also love to do this chant together from Thich Nhat Hanh, and we'll say it 3 times. Sing it 3 times. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now. So settle yourself in, take a breath, and we'll chant together. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now. Take one more good deep breath. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. I'm the Reverend Janet Gollery McKesson, and I also welcome you to the church in Ocean Park this morning. We've all been through different types of weeks, and one thing that happened that you may not know about is we had our 10th annual queer prom. It was held at the Annenberg Beach House, and 175 people registered. I know that many didn't show up, but it was very, very well received, and we coordinated with the City of Santa Monica this time, and the Board of Travel and Tourism of Santa Monica, and the GSA, of course, they were in charge. And definitely this time, Linda Bond and Hurley Jim and Joni Bayan and some others from our church were very involved. And so we want to thank them for being there. That Friday night was a big night.
And Fred,
of course, Fred was there, and also doing a lot of backup stuff. So it's not all about eating, of course, it's about what happens before and after. So want to thank them very much from the bottom of our hearts for carrying this on for the 10th year, and for the city this year for getting involved. Also, I know that a lot of people are wondering whether or not we're getting back together and how soon and all of this. And so just keep watching the weekly email, because we are making progress about that. This is a church in Ocean Park, and we are diverse. So you'll hear different expressions and different ideas. So if you don't agree with something, that's okay. Just express yourself. You're just as important as the last person. So we were grateful that you're here. You're welcome at the church in Ocean Park. And thank you for being here. Let's have it's a beautiful morning.
Woke up this morning with my mind on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Singing and praying with my mind stayed on freedom. Singing and praying with my mind stayed on freedom. Singing and praying with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. We're gonna walk, we're gonna walk, we're gonna walk with my mind on freedom. Talk, I'm gonna talk, I'm gonna talk with my mind on freedom. Oh, 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 oh. I'm gonna walk. Well, there ain't no how to keep your mind stay on freedom. Well, there ain't no harm to keep your mind stay on freedom. Well, there ain't no harm to keep your mind stay on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Now we're gonna walk. We're gonna walk. We're gonna walk with my mind on freedom. Talk, I'm gonna talk, I'm gonna talk with my mind on freedom. Oh, I'm gonna walk, I'm gonna talk. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Well, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. One more time. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our speaker for today, Trudy Goodwin. And Trudy Goodwin began her journey in social justice as a child of the civil rights movement in Los Angeles As a Black Panther of the Los Angeles chapter, she is often troubled by the lack of history written about Los Angeles' civil rights movement. In honor of her mother and the many others who fought for equality in Southern California, Trudy will discuss the major campaigns led by the local leaders of the civil rights movement. Please welcome Trudy Goodwin.
Good morning, church. It's so good to be here with you. I am celebrating today, as I do every year, this day, my mother's birthday. As many of you know, she became acquainted with the church in Ocean Park at the wedding of me and Bob some 12 years ago. And made a real tremendous impact with all of her brilliant blue adornment and her graceful and unencumbered dancing throughout the ceremony. And that type of quiet, lively figure is what inspired me throughout my life. So this talk today is to honor her, but to also honor her comrades of that time period of the civil rights movement. Because while we know a lot about the civil rights movement of the South, very little has been said about the civil rights movement of Los Angeles. Now, there's a lot that has been said about the Black Power movement of Los Angeles. We all know about the Kwanzaa celebration that we have after Christmas. That was founded here in Southern California by a local social leader. Oh goodness, I'm blocking his name. Who made Kwanzaa a celebration that is held in many homes across the United States.
Malvina Karenga.
That's right, Malvina Karenga. Was California based. We know of the Black Panther Party on 41st and Central that was attacked by Los Angeles police. We know of John and Bunchy, who were killed up at UCLA's campus. So there's films that document the Black Power movement of Los Angeles, but very little is said about those freedom fighters, those early freedom fighters of the 1950s and 60s. And that was the group that my mom belonged to. And so, for us folks who lived during that time and became teenagers during that time, we sort of at some point poo-pooed the work that they did because they weren't dynamic enough, they weren't courageous enough. And I think that has sort of added to the lack of notoriety about the work that they did. So in this very brief time that we have together this morning, I just want to hit on some of the highlights that these amazing people were responsible for. So first, let me tell you a little bit about these folks that my mom made friends with and worked with and went to jail with. You had a broad cross-section of Black and other minorities or people of color. At that time, they were called minorities, and a lot, and I mean a lot, of white allies that push for civil rights in the Los Angeles area. And of course, we know about all the stars, Sammy Davis Jr. and Harry Belafonte, and different white folks like Marlon Brando and Burt Lancaster, on and on. They got a lot of press from attending these large marches. And they were also very instrumental in raising funds for the national as well as local civil rights programs. But the folks that did the on the ground work were folks like Wendell Green, who was a journalist for both the California Eagle and the Los Angeles Sentinel. In case you don't know, those are two Black newspapers. The Eagle was this powerhouse of a newspaper that was founded by Carletta Bass, who was an extremely important person in the civil rights movement. She was one of the few journalists or few publishers that would actually publish the events that were going on, the actions that were going on, the encounters that the Black community had with police and segregation. So we had Wendell that was part of that initial group. Morgan Moten, who was an attorney in Watts that represented our cases when we went up against the folks like Don Wilson, who was a developer here in Los Angeles who tried to keep Blacks from buying in white neighborhoods. And Morgan also defended folks who were thrown in jail after protests. And then you had folks that were part of the Tuskegee Airmen that settled here in Los Angeles, were brilliant individuals that could not find work in their chosen fields, like Oscar York, who was trained as an engineer, but ended up working for the post office. And Bill Youngblood, who started his own company because he was trying to work for a larger engineering company out here and just couldn't be hired. And then Dorothy Sterling, who is this white woman from the Valley who could be depended on to be there in the office, helping to construct letters and get letters out to the local press and all. So these amazing people are the people who brought Martin Luther King here to Wrigley Field back in the mid-60s, where he spoke in front of 38,000 people. This is the group that took people out to Torrance and to Hawthorne and staged sit-ins because Black folks were not allowed to live in those areas. And these are the folks that constructed the court cases to get away, to do away with discrimination in housing. But probably their major accomplishment was bringing to the national stage the segregation that was going on in Los Angeles, because folks had no idea the level of police abuse that was going on, and that our schools were totally segregated. The largest march of that era, of any time in history in Los Angeles up until that point, was a march that these folks constructed against the Board of Education, where over 3,000 people marched for the desegregation of schools. So, I mean, we're talking about some valued, committed, strong-willed, courageous folks that did a lot to move the civil rights movement in the Los Angeles area. One area that I don't want to forget too is the Committee for Representative Government that took so much of my mom's time away from her family because they were working to get Blacks elected into political office. So without this committee, you would not have Mayor Tom Bradley, because he was one of the folks that they vetted, and some earlier folks that you probably haven't heard of. But if you look around Los Angeles, there's buildings and parks and everything named after these people. Folks like Gil Lindsay, who was one of the first Black Board of Supervisors, and Billie G. Mills, who later on became a judge, but was also on the city council. It was this group of folks that went out and challenged the different political arenas for their lack of inclusion of Black folks, and were successful. I find it odd, don't you, that we're talking about a period of about 60 years ago, and I'm lifting up the work that these folks did to get rid of police brutality. I can't imagine that 60 years later, we are still facing police brutality. Here in LA, there was a killing of a man who was a Black Muslim, and 5 years prior, Malcolm X had come out and opened the mosque that this man belonged to. He was a leader in this mosque. The police saw 5 Black men taking clothes out of the back of a car and thought that they were robbing someone. And a scuffle ensued, and the police shot and killed this religious leader. And that is what made national news, because Malcolm X came out to memorialize him and to encourage the community here in LA to fight back against police brutality. And shortly after that, I think it was like 9 months later, Martin Luther King came back to Los Angeles to also encourage folks to address the ills of oppression here in Los Angeles. And one of the things that he lifted up, of course, was police brutality. So I think I sort of want to leave it there. I do want to remark about the one of the folks that was part of this movement that I want to acknowledge today, because I never really got to acknowledge him in his life, and I've lost track of him. I'm sure by now he's passed on, but his name was Father Sam. I don't remember his last name. I don't know what parish he belonged to. I just remembered you could count on this tall, good-looking, young, bespectacled minister to be at every march and to be at the planning meetings. Does he sound like somebody we know who got out there and courageously fought for the civil rights of Black folks? In fact, I'll share this one little short story. We're at a march in Monterey Park, just on the other side of East LA. And he's got me by my hand. I couldn't have been more than 9, maybe. He's holding my hand. We're singing one of those freedom songs, just like Kim sang a few minutes ago and Louise sang. And as we're walking down this major street in Monterey Park, a man who was standing on the sidewalk stepped into the street and spit in Father Sam's face. Can you imagine the impact that had on me at 9? Father Sam wiped his mouth with his shirt sleeve and didn't miss a beat, kept stepping and kept singing. One of the most powerful, courageous moves I have seen yet to date. And that's why when I hear Janet stand up for the rights of Black folks in Los Angeles, I hearken back to that moment of that courageous man standing up for my people. And I will always lift up Janet for her courage that she brings us to in this church, moving us forward. And it reminds me so much of how folks are sort of timid back in the 50s and 60s. Well, we really shouldn't get involved in that. Isn't there a more loving, gentle way of going about? Well, I don't want my name associated with all that ruckus. And Janet, as any good leader should, pushes us forward into the fight to stop the assaults on Black communities and to bring the Black community fully into the human family. So I think I'll leave it as that. And folks, thank you so much for joining us. If I had tried to cover everything I've written down, we'd be here for another couple of hours. So I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to honor my mom.
I want to sing a song. Bob Dylan wrote this, but I want to lift up the name of Nina Simone. She also sang this, I Shall Be Released. I put the words in the chat. They say everything can be replaced, yet every distance is not near. So I remember every face of every man who put me here. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. They say every man needs protection. They say every man must fall. So I swear I see my reflection somewhere inside these walls. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. west down to the east. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. Thank you, thank you. Now it is time for community sharing. People may want to have something to say or ask a question. So I see Craig's hand is up. Go ahead, Craig, and unmute.
It's not a question, it's just a comment, because in terms of looking at what Trudy described, I find so much of my own, growing up experience. I am constantly reminded that in the 50s, there was an unwritten rule that Black folks couldn't go past Western Avenue without being harassed, much less buy a home there. But consistent with what Trudy talked about, though, in the early 60s, due to those protestations, Black folks were allowed to buy homes in Baldwin Hills. The idea, and my mother talked about this, and I think she wrote about it in some form, most of the high schools, with the exception of a few, were white high schools. LA High School was not only white, but were racist. And they were in the same league with, schools in our neighborhood like Jefferson, and they would jeer them. So it's refreshing to hear, all the struggles. And one other thing, when she talked about the police, I guess the biggest culprit of what it is we saw then was William Parker. And, later on, his handpicked, successor, Daryl Gates, which was responsible for a lot of the abuse and the carrying out of, and really, for what it's worth, the incitement of what we call the Watts Uprising. So I thank you, Trudy, for reinvoking, that memory of my childhood and my early adulthood. Thank you.
Craig, thank you. And thank you for lifting up that memory of Chief Parker. He's in my notes. I just could not spend a lot of time acknowledging the brutality that these folks were pushing back against because of his reign of terror. Thank you.
Okay, Rachel Rose, and then I see Gail, and then Reverend Joseph.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Trudy, for the memories. Thanks for the memories. I don't know why that popped into my head, but what it makes me think of is this pushback by the supremacists and the neo-Nazis against critical race theory, and how important it is that these stories be told, whether it's in this forum or in an educational setting, in an educational institutional setting, wherever. We need the whole history of where we came from, so that we know where we're at today and where we need to go in the future. The police brutality at the same time was also happening to the LGBTQ community at that time as well. And so, I want to lift that up as part of the story. And then the final thing I'd like to say is that yesterday I binge watched from beginning to end all 10 episodes of the Underground Railroad. And on I think it was it's not Netflix, it's the other one that I have, Amazon. And I highly recommend it. It's poignant. And again, even though it's I think it's kind of I didn't double check, but I think it's kind of a fictional story, but it does have elements of what it was like just prior to the Civil War for Black folks. And so and then I'm also reminded of and I think it was Committee on Racial Justice had a speaker in a few months ago, maybe it was late last year, that graphically described lynchings. And I just wanted to let you all know that had a profound impact on my psyche. As it was only a 10-minute presentation, but it was so powerful, and for us, not to forget the cruelty and the lack of humanity that was perpetrated against other human beings.
Thank you, Rachel. That's it's very meaningful. I also think that I would be remiss if I didn't lift up the name of Roy Wilkins and James Farmer, who were instrumental in the leadership in the Los Angeles area and beyond. It's important that we keep those names in front of us. I put in the chat that if you want to know more about the local history, you can Google Congress of Racial Equality in Los Angeles and the NAACP chapter. I'm working on a larger project where I plan on acknowledging the movement from the 60s, 50s, and 60s in Los Angeles. So this is sort of like my introduction. Thank you, folks.
Trudy, Trudy, if I may, one viable resource that was involved in CORE and the Freedom Rides was Bob Farrell. He's an ex-councilman, and I believe he's still alive. Another one may be Robert Singleton. These are names that, I was involved with because I was also involved in CORE very early. And these are the names that I remember in looking at. So that may be a help to you.
Yes, definitely. I didn't lift up Bob Farrell's name as one of the candidates that this committee vetted, but Bob Farrell went through the Committee of Racial, the Committee for Representation to become a city council person. So yes, definitely. Thank you, Craig.
Okay, Gail Price, go ahead and unmute.
Okay, can you hear me? Good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Trudy. Highlighting a history that I would guess that the huge majority of us have never heard. And I met your mother, Grace, on a number of occasions, and she was a force to be reckoned with, for sure. I loved her. What I'm aware of as hearing this history is, this is the people's history. This isn't the leadership, necessarily the leaders, the people that we all know, King and et cetera, but that social movements and social change happens at this level, It's individual people that we don't know, we don't hear about, they're unsung, but they're the ones who have, laid the groundwork to continue to move forward. And I think it's so important to honor those folks, because as one person, it's easy to feel like, well, what can I do? My little contribution, my going to this, little event, but that's what creates change. And thank you for honoring them and bringing them to our attention. Thanks.
Thank you, Gail. Reverend Joseph Hepburn.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Trudy, for that inspiring message. I think I've learned more about your involvement and about your work on Zoom. So to me, it's a good thing that we are able to hear you from time to time on Zoom and to express in this manner how the measure of your involvement. And of course, honor to your mother. I just thought that maybe I was glad that you mentioned some of the not usual people who were involved in this whole process. And I thought you mentioned some of the movie stars. And I wondered if there was anything written on the role of the movie industry or the role of social media on the the liberation movement. I don't know if anything was written about that. That seems to be just a thought that came to me that might be a good thing to write on.
That is incredible that you would lift that up, because not much has been written.
Right.
The movie industry has not done that much, did not do that much in that period, because everybody was so busy sweeping the movement under the rug. So you had that was the reason that it was so necessary for Hollywood to come out and to support the work that was going on here in LA and nationally, because the papers did not want to touch on the civil rights movement. And often when they did, it was in the most negative terms. Folks that I named or categorized, as being hooligans and these communists. We were made to, folks were made to separate themselves from us because we were being painted with these terms that folks considered negative, So as you well know, because they did the same thing to Martin Luther King. They, blew him off as being a communist, right? So thank you, Joseph. It's real important that part of the history gets told too.
Let's see, Jean Gasca.
I just wanted to say, Trudy, the telling of stories is so important, and discussing things, and especially with children. Now with all this stuff about critical race theory and books in schools that have, just a hint of the fact that the United States has been cruel to people in the past. I lived in Altadena when I was in middle school, and there had been a lot of white flight. So pretty much the neighborhood that I lived in was all Black. I think we were one of like 3 families left in that neighborhood. And I didn't really notice, nobody talked about it. So that was just where I lived, and that was the people that I lived with. But all of a sudden I was bused across the city, and nobody talked to us about why. All I knew was I had to drive 45 minutes to school instead of going to my nearby school with all the rest of my friends, just because of where I lived. And it's just become so clear to me that people don't talk about these things. My parents didn't even talk to us about why we were getting on the bus. That was just what you did. So I want to thank you for telling stories, Trudy, for helping to educate us, because that's the most important thing. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Trudy, thank you. I want to echo what Gail and Reverend Joseph said about naming these activist heroes. And I'm sorry if I missed this, but I wondered if you could share the name of the full name of your mom.
That is so funny, Audrey, because my daughter just walked through and said, "Did you ever say what grandma's name was?" You know, so I'm like, I guess I didn't. She is just so ever present with me, I swear. But her name is Idalia Grace. And most folks just called her Grace, right? So,
and her last name?
Goodwin Perkins.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good to know. How about Linda Bond?
Thank you so much, Trudy.
Oh, Lord, I'm in trouble now. The historian's on.
No, child. It's not like that. In fact, I just think it's real. I promise you, I did not come with that. I put a little website. There's a civil rights movement veterans website that I just think is another source. But no, I think what's real interesting is sort of the overlapping and intertwining of the movements, you know, that your mother was a part of, and how I think a lot of us who came out of the 60s think that we just made this shit up on our own, right? That we don't understand the legacy of the people who went before us, right? I want to give credit to Frank and Vera Greenwood, the African American Cultural Society, who were part of who I learned from, right? And I want to give credit. I mean, in those days, I mean, the days you're talking about, I was in the San Fernando Valley and my mother was not in this, right? At all. You know, but when I finally started becoming aware of what was going on, I'm a little bit older than you. It was like 64 and 65, and we had a Friends of SNCC chapter at Pomona, you know, and came into LA for meetings at the Friends of SNCC office in LA, and actually went to a conference at Camp Colby Methodist Camp. And I think Christmas vacation of 65, right? But I think a lot of us at that point, you know, we were the new left, and we really thought that we had made that up all on our own, and that we had nothing to learn from our predecessors. And it's just not true. I mean, you know, the way that we learn from those who went before us and had different struggles at a different time is so valuable. And I just really appreciate this.
Thank you, Linda. That is so true. And I think that what Gail said about this being the people's history is also so important. And yeah, we have to lift these names up, because otherwise folks will think that it's because of Sammy Davis Jr. that the civil rights movement was, you know, brought to Hollywood, when in fact it was the members of the NAACP that brought Hollywood into this fight. And let me just say this, during that period, the NAACP, it was not the NAACP that you see today. That is, you know, in my estimate, this is just my own humble opinion, I just find them to be very corporate driven, very mainstream driven, and not really in the fight the way that they were during the 50s and before. They were powerful and dynamic and outspoken. And so was the Urban League. So All right.
Okay, Claudia, go ahead and unmute.
I may get this wrong, and I apologize, Trudy, if I do, but I know one of our extended conversations was about what I perceived as similarities between what was going on here in small pockets of LA and Detroit, or the Midwest. And LA is a city, or California, that has an influence on it, our population, that, you know, the Latinx population that isn't found in the Midwest, or wasn't when, you know, this period of time. And Watts had a concentration of Black people that was more similar to Detroit, and the activism that happened in Watts and in Detroit, and I think what I call, I mean, they refer to them as race riots, but really insurgencies, had similar characteristics. And there's Carol O'Neill and I have been talking about, she comes from Chicago, I come from Detroit. And when we first came out here to visit, both of us at very different times, but went to Watts first because it felt more like Detroit, and something I was used to, and something I was used to, my own choices in life, to want to be oriented toward social justice were very much found in the Watts area. I don't know where, I can't quite remember where your mother and your family was located, but am I making any sense, Trudy?
Most definitely. There was a large Black population in Watts. As you know, that's where the civil unrest of 1965 started. But Blacks were, because this is such a big damn state, Blacks were all over Southern California, with, different concentrations, different areas of concentration. But my family was in the San Gabriel Valley. We lived in Alhambra, which was a overwhelmingly white community. But yeah, the folks that belonged to the groups that my mom belonged to were in those areas that Craig was just talking about, that were barely integrated and some not integrated. The east side of Los Angeles, when we say east side, we mean everything east of, say, Alameda. We're not talking about the East LA as people know it today. So everything east of Alameda. Yeah, so they were everywhere, but Watts had a very, very large Black population, and it was strong. It was a cultural hub. It was a social activist center. So yeah, I mean, that's where the Black Panther Party in Los Angeles and the organization that started Kwanzaa was based. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
I want to thank you, Trudy, for your amazing talk and putting me in the same paragraph or message as your mother, and then all those amazing other folks. I was very moved, and I thank you so much. However, also, I think that the storytelling is incredibly important, and I think that I am so excited that you might be writing a book or something about this. I for one, can't wait. And that is so important. It'll, as is Craig's mother's books, writings before that. So thank you so much. I just wanted to say thank you to this community for always keeping us more abreast of what's actually happening and actually the actual history and how important it is. I'm with Linda in that the work I did as a young person, we thought we were the first.
And good to see your mother with you too today, Janet.
Oh, good to be here. It's very good to be here. Thank you, Joe.
Wait a minute, you guys are in the same room?
Yeah, we are. And we're
Yeah,
in.
yeah, it looks so.
Lovely. Hi, Virginia.
Hi. We're at Undiscovered Park. Hey, Virginia.
Yeah, Janet's visiting her daughter and granddaughter. So all 4 generations are there, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, let's have a song.
Fantastic. I'm all set. I am all set. I was just certainly enjoying everybody getting to visit with each other. Now, these days, you're more likely to hear a Malvina Reynolds song on a commercial on TV, but it's good to remember some of the other ones that she wrote. And here is one that both Louise and I thought of this one for this morning. So, you know, all great minds and some other people think alike. It isn't nice to block the doorway. It isn't nice to go to jail. There are nicer ways to do it, but the nice ways always fail. It isn't nice, it isn't nice. You told us once, you told us twice, but if that's freedom's price, we don't mind. No, 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 we don't mind. No, no, no. It isn't nice to carry banners or to sit in on the floor or to shout our cry of freedom at the hotel or the store. It isn't nice, it isn't nice. You told us once, you told us twice, but that's freedom's price. We don't mind. No, 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 we don't mind. No, no, no. We have tried negotiations and a 3-person picket line. Mr. Charlie didn't see us, and he might as well have been blind. And now our new ways aren't nice when we deal with people of ice. But if that's freedom's price, we don't mind. No, 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 we don't mind. No, no, no. Well, how about those years of lynchings and the shot in Evers' back? Now, did you say it wasn't proper? Did you stand up on the track? Well, you were quiet just like mice, and now you say that we aren't nice. But if that's freedom's price, we don't mind. No, 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 we don't mind. No, no, no. It isn't nice to block the doorway. It isn't nice to go to jail. There are nicer ways to do it, but the nice ways always fail. It isn't nice, it isn't nice, but thanks, oh thanks for your advice, 'cause if that's freedom's price, we don't mind. No, 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 we don't mind. No, 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 we don't mind. No, 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 we don't mind. for singing, everybody.
Oh my God.
Janet's granddaughter and Virginia's great-granddaughter, Sophie, Trudy's mom, Grace, Gary's and my granddaughter, Addie, and Bob's son, Daniel. So Sophie, Grace, Addie, and Daniel.
Okay, so I guess I'll start off. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Sophie. Happy birthday, dear Grace. Happy birthday, dear Addie. Happy birthday, dear Daniel. Happy birthday to you.
Yes.
Did we say Janet? Did we include Janet?
Oh, I don't think so. So go ahead, Trudy.
Gotta sing again.
We really do.
Janet, did you just have a birthday or you have one coming up?
It's my granddaughter's birthday.
So her birthday's
Oh.
about a week and a half.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right.
Yeah, I knew she was a July Ruby.
Yeah. We're a bunch of July people here.
I'm sorry to interrupt the flow, but there's something that was neglected. Claudia, did you want to say anything about this Tuesday at 2?
You know, I'm really sorry. Something's wrong with my typing, and you can see it like it ends. So, all I wanted to say is, Louise is doing a fabulous job with the YouTube. Posting of these things, and I wanted to say that the COVID thing, I want to make it useful on YouTube so that people can go to it as you are wanting to access something, maybe to think about regathering of a church, and are able to attend this, the thing that's at 2, because it's kind of at a difficult time. I would have typed it, but my keyboard isn't working right.
It will go on YouTube. Thanks, Claudia.
Thanks. And then also, I see we missed a few things. So from Trudy, lifting up Trudy's nephew, James, and James's family who are having serious problems right now. And also from Gail, lifting up all the pastors who are, were you trying to write who are transitioning to in-person church communities? What were you thinking, Gail? Gail Price, unmute. Oh, yeah.
The new church communities this week.
Yeah, so United Methodist Ministers, they moved July 1st. That's our.
Yeah, and one of them is Sandy Richards, our former minister. She's going to Long Beach from San Fernando Valley.
And closer to us, so we're very happy.
Okay, so lifting up people who are moving to, well, in like new assignments, new places where they will be in ministry.
Yeah.
So yes, so for those who are moving, for those who are grieving a pastor who has moved on, for those who are happy that a pastor has moved on, because I know that happens sometimes too. So yes.
And Kim, for those of us that are delighted that we get to keep our old minister.
Yes, yay and amen. Okay.
Closing song.
Did you get Gina's lift up?
Did we get Gina's lift up? Let's see.
There's from.
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes. So
Oh, we lift her up again.
Yeah, definitely. I think she lifted up Waverly. Okay. Yes.
This is a song called Carry It On. Lyrics are there. There's a man by my side walking. There's a voice within me talking. There's a word that needs a saying. Carry it on, carry it on, carry it on. will tell their lying stories, bring their dogs to bite our bodies. They will lock us in prison. Carry it on, carry it on, carry it on, carry it on. All their lies will be forgotten. All their dogs will lie there rotting. Their prison walls will crumble. Carry it on, carry it on, carry it on, carry it on. If you can't go on any longer, take your hand, take the hand of your sister and brother. Every victory brings another. Carry it on, carry it on, carry it on, carry it on. When you can't go on any longer, take the hand of your sister and brother. Every victory brings another. Carry it on, 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 carry it on.
Thank you. I think that's what this was all about, carrying it on the history, knowing the history that we have and carrying it forward, carrying it on, carrying it on. So we're going to carry it on. And we do that by taking the hands of the person that's next to you and the person that's not, and siblings all around the world, the siblings that we can't see and we don't know, and we step over and we ignore all the siblings that we have. And we say together, carry on. One, oh wait, you didn't unmute. First of all, unmute. And we say together, carry on. 1, 2, 3. Carry on.
Carry on. Carry on. Carry on.